Welcome back to the High Ticket Systems podcast, where we talk about all things client acquisition, scaling, marketing, sales, AI, and everything else in between. Everyone, please welcome the one and only Gavin Zaentz. Gavin, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Awesome to have you. For the people at home who may not already know, please give them some background on exactly who you are and what your company LeadPoet really does at its core.
Absolutely. So I'm from the States, went to school down in Tulane, focused on business management marketing, then statistics for grad school, worked at a hedge fund, sourcing new LPs, reaching out to those LPs and ultimately converting them into the fund. After that, worked directly at the stock exchange NASDAQ at a client services role, upselling different clients on additional services NASDAQ offered, as well as providing them a direct service. After that, worked directly on the exchange with order entry protocols, risk protocols, focused on the equity side of the exchange. That's where I met my co-founder, Pranav. He had done hundreds of thousands of cold outbound emails for his startup. I'd done a lot of sales at both the hedge fund and also a PR agency before that. And we both bonded over this shared frustration around the current state of sales tools, really that amplify noise and don't actually connect you with interested buyers, instead connecting you with large untargeted lists of people that look good on paper, but may have quit the job, may be at maybe the company isn't even active anymore. So our whole idea is qualifying leads to give you who's actually relevant to engage with.
That's brilliant. I think what you said, amplified noise, is so key in this space because, yeah, in my experience, you can have a lead list that looks absolutely beautiful on paper and it's built out, it's loads of contacts, but what's the quality like of those? So take us back to how it's such a unique background you come from, NASDAQ, and obviously working with that stock exchange. What was the pivot point that made you and your partner realize that there was such a gap in the market? Can you walk us through that experience specifically?
Yeah, totally. So we had always been using these tools, Apollo, ZoomInfo, and obviously they can get the job done, but it requires an immense amount of work from the sales rep to actually qualify those leads. And there's been some studies that show sales reps, they don't spend actually the majority of their time selling. They're spending a lot of time on qualifying leads, going through the data, like optimizing their flow. And our belief is that salespeople should have the freedom to focus on selling and leave all that other work to platforms like us. And we also just saw AI, the continued acceleration of agents and AI as a whole, being a huge way for us to disrupt these other players that are focused more on a static database approach. They're not qualifying leads in real time, which we're able to do.
Yeah. And qualifying those leads in real time. When you think about just so our audience can understand kind of who you guys best operate for, what would be the ideal client? Like, where do you guys position yourself in this market?
Totally. So yeah, we position ourselves definitely in the higher end of the market, similar to a price point similar to something like ZoomInfo, very competitive, but we're not just providing that data. We're providing that qualification, the research behind those leads. We don't want to give you a list of 10,000. We want to give you a list of, maybe 500, depending on your target market, depending on the signals you use to qualify those leads. So that's kind of how we compare ourselves to other tools. But in terms of our target market, it's going to be those high ticket sales teams, because a small percentage lift on their version and on their ability to hop on a call and throughout that sales funnel results in a lot more value for them. Exactly.
Yeah, of course, definitely. It makes it more worthwhile. And in terms of your company, your scale right now, can you take us back to when this started? Like, what year did you guys launch, and how has that growth trajectory been from there?
Yeah. So last year we started research and development of the system, of the product. We only started selling it actually in March of this year. And we ironically haven't even done outbound yet. Actually, this month we're starting our own outbound. We've been in a lucky position of just being an AI tool that people are finding on X, finding on LinkedIn, reaching out to us. Our launch video also luckily, went pretty viral, got about 1 million views on that launch video. So
Wow. What
So
do you
yeah,
attribute that to? The launch video going viral?
yeah, no, I'm glad to share the alpha. We
Yeah,
did a lead magnet, which are you familiar generally with a lead magnet? Also, for anyone that's listening, glad to just give a brief
please.
overview. The idea is that it's a post that obviously has the nice video, shows the product, but a big part of that is saying comment this and you get something. So for us, it was comment poet and you get some free lead credits. And what that does is that allows people to engage with that post, commenting, retweeting, liking, and the algorithm sees all that engagement and it really propels, creates momentum to get all this organic engagement and ultimately eyes on the video and ultimately for us conversions. People not only try the product with those credits and then convert, but people just sometimes saw it and they didn't even ask for the free credits, which better for us, but they just instantly bought on the site. So I definitely recommend anyone that has a product that they're able to kind of provide a lead magnet around. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be free credits. It could be, here's a PDF of the best, Claude prompts on how to do your go to market, or here's a PDF on the best AI tools. It can be just some like education, but obviously everyone likes some free credits. And, that's a quick way to provide value and get some virality with the launch.
Yes. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces you can now leverage in today's day and age. Like the experience of obviously launching new businesses and having virality as an asset. It's just something that can explode so massively in your favor. And I suppose how much of your success, because this has been a very quick launch to where you've been to today, how much of that do you attribute to that sort of marketing genius behind the launch and the lead magnet there?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably gotten about, let's say, half of our customers has been from that. We've also have a lot of other customers that are from, we're part of a lot of open source AI communities where everyone is pretty tight knit and they see what we're doing. And they're like, oh yeah, I do sales, or I know a guy that does sales. So I think it's been a mix of kind of communities, being involved in communities, and also just the actual launch video that got so much eyes on us. So I think it's good to be thinking in multiple channels even before you do outbound, because both these are inbound channels, but I think inbound definitely shouldn't be discounted. Obviously, we sell an outbound tool, but we are rolling out some functionality that allows you to kind of process more your inbound demand, converting website visitors into actual leads and actual demand for your product as well. So I think you really need to be thinking about both. Um,
It's all the channels.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
If you're going to grow and scale and run a truly successful business in today's day and age, you can't just be leveraging one tool. There's so much you can do with one particular channel. But, in our experience, some of our best clients and the ways have grown has been through that word of mouth, referrals, trust. It's so old school, but it's old school because it works,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than someone imparting trust and try this. Like there will never be anything better in my opinion than that. So yeah, if you're not leveraging that, you're leaving so much on the table of just your personal network, because so much of
Mm.
outbound is I see this email from a guy I don't know. And unless in that 0.5 1 second they can see something that shows, okay, this guy is going to provide me some free value, or wow, I really was thinking of that problem right at this moment, like I'm going to take a call, it just goes to the trash bin. And even if the email may convey those things, psychologically we get so much noise in our inboxes, we're not even really reading these emails anymore. Like our brain is kind of instantly pattern matching and saying, this is an email from someone I don't know, throw away. So it's like becoming so difficult to cut through that. But our view is if you're able to qualify these people to someone that's relevant, the timing is there, and you're also doing some good outreach, because you can have the best lead, but if you send them a Stripe link or a Cal.com link just off the rip and say, hey, book a time, you're not going to get results.
Me.
Maybe if you reach out to a million leads, you might, but yeah,
Yeah.
the key with that first email, in our opinion, is just getting someone to just take more than a second looking at it. And then once they take
The
more than a
pattern
second,
interrupt, right?
exactly.
Mm. Yeah. And so the process from there, you have the pattern interrupt. I know there's a lot else in your process. Now, I was having a dive into your website, and you guys are obviously leveraging AI, but you've had this background in data science as well. How has that blended into now how you structure the process from that initial outreach point?
Yeah, totally. So right now with the current V1 of the platform, we just source and qualify the leads. Outreach is
Yeah.
all up to our users. Obviously, we provide
Mm.
advice and educational resources on how they should be doing it, similar to what we've discussed. But with V2 of the platform coming before the end of this quarter, it will be leveraging outreach through the platform, through LinkedIn, through your email. So you can reach out to these leads on both a co-pilot and an autopilot type of feature. So it can either be fully autonomous, or you can see AI is suggesting, okay, reach out to this. You can say, oh, I actually know this guy. Let me tweak the email a little, or no, let me change this so my voice is a bit more clear. But the whole idea is through this AI data science perspective is looking at everything, trying all these experiments for our users, seeing what works. And, so much of outbound is seeing what works, testing. And then once you find that, just allocating more resources to that, but not stopping testing, because you just need to keep experimenting, keep seeing what different methods can work. Maybe it's an email that you would never think would work, but it's just totally that pattern interrupt of just a weird email. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten some funny ones as well. And a lot of the time, I don't think it'll get results, but I think there is some ways to actually generate some response through that.
That's it. And it's so true about the hyper awareness now that we have to battle with, because, 10 years ago, we didn't have this problem, right? You can send a cold email and it puts you in a position where you don't have to have so much pattern interrupts, unique mechanisms, justifications. But now everyone seems so hyper aware, and it's a different game. What do you see for the future as AI gets more advanced, as I'm sure this trajectory increases, and how has this influenced the way you've positioned your business?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we're obviously in this hyperscale, like kind of exponential trend of AI effectiveness. And I think, as long as you're positioned in a system that is a tailwind of your system, like as AI becomes more intelligent, your system becomes more high quality, a better user experience. I think you're in a good position. Speaking directly on the sales front, specifically in like the high ticket sales area, I think always that human connection will ultimately drive the ultimate conversion, at least let's say for the next few decades. It's hard to predict past that, but
Or the
people
robots
want to.
come?
Exactly. People, when they're making a 6-figure, 7-figure decision, they don't want to say, okay, my AI agent can speak to your AI agent and they'll sell it. I think on cheaper products that will happen. You're buying, $10, $100 product. Your AI agent will know so much about you, know so much about your business, it can qualify it. And I think even
Yeah.
for the high value products, it will be able to at least figure out, okay, these are interesting ones. I've received this outreach from these guys. Maybe it's worth a conversation, but I don't think
Mm.
the AI is going to be taking that final step with the higher ticket sales, for a long time, if ever.
And can you give the audience some context behind that? Is that due to the power of the relationships? Is that due to just that human touch, or what's putting us humans still at that better place than AI in that sequence?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of managing risk. Like,
Mm.
a guy doesn't want to fully just say, oh, yeah, my AI can do it. He buys a 7-figure product and then it doesn't work, or it's not the product that they really wanted. And, big companies, they want to say, whose fault was it? And it's going to be that guy's fault that decided to use the AI. So the guy's like, actually, I'd rather put myself in there. So that's one thing, is like a, CYA, like just they don't want to get burned on something that they can just do, that is their normal job. But I think there also is, yeah, the human aspect of it. People, like um, speaking with a human, knowing they have a point of contact, knowing it's not just this total, corporate system where it's like a robotic system. Is like, okay, no, I know Ryan. He works at this company. He's been there for me if I have any questions. He really walked me through everything. And people like being social. People like talking to other people, and I think that
People
that
like people.
exactly.
Yeah, it's so overlooked today's day and age. We have so many guests on who are in the AI space as well, and to be real with you, very few of them still recognize the uniqueness and power of just individual people. In your team, your company, your structure right now, how have you structured that? Like, what's the balance between AI? If you're put in front of your ideal prospect, your ideal client, what's the human touch? How does AI assist with that? Can you give the audience some context on how that looks?
Totally. Yeah. So for us, the way we are looking at, doing outbound, reaching out to people is like at least those first outreach messages leveraging AI and, trying a bunch of stuff based on kind of our language that we already use and seeing what works while maintaining very human, like communication. We don't want it to be M dashes, paragraphs of emojis. I'm sure you've gotten some emails like that, and you're just like, come on, man.
Yeah. No. As soon as I
um,
see that little long like hyphen, the double hyphen, I'm like, spam.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're thinking a lot of how we leverage it intelligently. So not only on the outreach of suggesting messaging, but also monitoring accounts, seeing what accounts maybe were cold or becoming hot now because they just opened a job listing for the type of product or service you're selling, or they've announced some big new growth initiative. All of that is another way we're leveraging AI. I mean, the key of our platform is an AI sales intelligence platform, but we don't want to our whole idea is to help salespeople, not to replace salespeople. I know there's so many tools now that are like, we're an AI SDR, we do everything. Our goal is to really be an efficiency booster, a power booster to these teams. So not to replace them, but allow them to run more efficiently.
That's it. I had a guest on the other day who was also really into the AI space, and he was really clear about that also. The power of AI should be used as a way to emphasize the power of the individual, right? It's that symbiotic relationship, not one of replacement and of um it's either this or nothing. So when you think about how this actually has that impact on the sales team. Obviously, going back to what you said about the noise, amplifying noise, a lot of these lead lists do, and the salesperson's caught up a lot of the time in qualifying themselves. What is the biggest benefit that a company will typically find utilizing LeadPoet in the eyes of that conversion, the sales team? Like, where does the most value come from?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, right now, since we're just doing that top of funnel lead generation, that's the biggest time saved is just knowing who's relevant and also just spending more efficiently. They don't need to buy a list of 10,000 with Zoom Info. They can just buy the list of 500 with us, and ultimately saving a lot of money, but also saving all that time that they would otherwise spend going to each LinkedIn, going on even ChatGPT to research these companies. And they're also spending less money on tools. They don't need to spend on an email verifier uh, like a zero bounce or something like that. They're able to use just one tool, and that's our whole idea is just replacing these patchwork of tools with one tool you can live in that just is your sales intelligence platform. And obviously right now, yeah, it's just on that lead generation, but the whole idea is just saving people time through that funnel up until that last step that is going to be that meeting, that is going to be that actual conversation, on the phone or whatever it may be.
I'm interested how much you can talk about V2. I'm really curious now. I think the audience is really interested too, because what you've got right now is the front end of it, right? That's the most important piece. That's a lot of it. But how big of a difference? And tell me if you can't share this. How big of a difference is it going to be when you can actually release V2, and what impact is that going to have?
Yeah, no, I mean, glad to definitely get into it. So yeah, the idea of V2 is not just helping with the figuring out who to reach out to, but also the platform helping you reach out to them, prioritize who you should reach out to today, prioritize all your old accounts that you didn't even necessarily get through us researching them autonomously through the system to say, you reached out to this company last year and now they're showing these high intent signals. Now's the time to follow up. So many people have a CRM filled with thousands, tens of thousands of leads. They don't know what to do with them. I mean, if they manually do it, it's going to take them a week. Hire an intern for a month and maybe he'll get through everything. And at that point, all the signals go stale, right? So the whole
Yeah.
idea is with V2 is, V1 is just the top, finding who to speak to. V2 is prioritizing who to speak to today, providing that messaging of how to reach out to them, and then continuous signal monitoring to follow up with these leads, and then ultimately feeding that back into itself. So it's this cycle of doing the sales funnel up until that last step, and also refining your ICP over time, refining your messaging over time
Mm.
to just improve your process. Because just being a human, it's so difficult to look at all the data of what is my actual ICP? People have a preconception, but after you see a lot of conversion data, if you look at the data, the analytics around that, there's going to be little pockets of things you never thought were your ICP. Maybe the specific region or the specific role is actually the role that's the most warm to, leading to a conversion. And a lot of that data gets lost because it's just, looking at it from a personal perspective. If you have tens of thousands of sales or tens of thousands of people you reach out to, it's hard to know what works. So, all same with messaging. It's just so hard to be able to track that without this intelligent kind of dashboard, intelligent data points on how you should be refining those two things.
Yeah, because otherwise it's so subjective, right? Everybody in a given sales team, in my experience, has a completely different idea. In some places it can be worse, right? But a lot of the time that there's discrepancies between what one person thinks their ICP is versus the other, what the sales manager thinks, what us as founders believe. Where did you get this acumen? Because I understand you come from that data science background. How did you start to link this to sales, marketing? What was that journey like?
Yeah, totally. So I think even early days of my experience in sales was thinking of there has to be a better way, and starting to think of inklings of ideas of, okay, based on, like you're saying, my educational background applied to here, is there a way to kind of have this be a more virtuous loop? And there were more kind of junior methods at that point. Like you can use regression, which is a statistics technique. It's not too complicated compared to something like AI, but to implement it really doesn't scale well across a bunch of different users. And that's why me and Pranav, once we saw AI continuing to compound in ability and to do something similar, to predict based on kind of data, that's obviously what AI does. We just knew that this was now the time to be able to create something that we had both thought of before, but wasn't really possible with technology, at least without spending, let's say hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars developing your own method. Now, intelligence has really been commoditized, with all these AI systems and AI models. So it was really just having the idea before, but now seeing the timing is right, because the tech is there.
Yeah, when opportunity meets preparation, right? It sounds like the
Exactly.
stars have really aligned. And when did you first realize that the tech did have that potential and that this made sense to start pursuing?
Yeah, I would say it would be towards the start of 2025 was
Yeah.
when we really identified it as starting to see leaps and bounds in the quality of the systems, also testing it just on the coding front ourselves, and seeing the advancements of that through 2025 really gave us conviction that what we're seeing applied to coding can be applied to so many different verticals, and will have a similar effect of this compounding improvement, um, as we see AI models continue to get trained on larger data sets, continue to
Yeah.
become more intelligent.
Yeah. And it's only going to keep compounding and compounding. It's exciting, scary. It is a massive opportunity. I'm thinking in the eyes of the audience here. When you speak about, that sort of, I mean, in a way, it's an organism, right? An organism that completely encompasses the entire data of all of what you get from, leads, sales conversion, everything in the eyes of the sales team as well, like all combined. What is that in visuality? Is that a specific dashboard you have? Is that like an interactive, like how does this look for one of your clients who you implement this for? How do they use it day to day?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like one of our key beliefs is make it as clean as possible, obfuscate all the complexity, and make it something where they're just entering their ICP in natural language, describing their target market, describing their product or service briefly, and describing any signals and what they use to qualify currently. And then they just submit it through. The agent works, finds those leads, and boom, they get it either in the complementary CRM we provide, which is a very streamlined, Kanban board-esque system, or if they use a Salesforce, a HubSpot, we have integrations with them, where you can
Okay.
get your leads directly provided into those CRMs, and we also have
Mm,
webhooks. So if you use Adio or a different CRM that isn't one of the top ones per se, you can get your leads directly there. So that's what the current platform. And as we add more features with V2, it'll kind of just be adding an outreach tab as well, which will just look like an inbox that's kind of aggregating both your LinkedIn and your email in one spot. Will allow you to either be fully autopilot and see what's happening, or also be co-pilot, where you get a suggested email, suggested LinkedIn, and you can approve it or deny it. And the reason we did both those paths is because with high ticket sales, people want to control their messaging a lot. They don't want to say, okay, AI, my fate's in AI. So that's kind of the idea behind that. But the idea is, yeah, very streamlined, simple platform that really it feels good to use and it feels not overwhelming. I mean, if you go on a HubSpot, if you go on an Apollo, I get stressed out. There's so many tabs, so many different things to do. Even if you're using all your credits for something, you feel like you're not getting your money's worth because, okay, wait, I didn't use that. I didn't use this. And our whole idea is let's keep it as simple as possible so the salesperson can feel good using it, because that's something that's discounted a lot. Is you can have all these features, but you want people to feel good, because if they don't feel good, they're not going to continue using it. They're not going to actually use all the functionality. So the idea is putting all that complexity in the back and just allowing people to see a visual of, okay, where are my leads? What's the status of them? That's the CRM, and then just request their leads and then ultimately reach out to them. So that's kind of the vision of the three main features of the site. Because that's, once you do that, you're almost all the way, right? You've found the lead, you've reached out to them, and what else is there to do?
Right. Close.
Yeah,
Win
exactly,
business,
exactly.
right?
And that's the only thing we're not going to have directly through the platform, because, like I said, we believe that people will be able to do it. And through your outreach, you could contain a call to action like, "Hey, here's a discount. Try this out. Here's some free credits." But obviously, for higher ticket sales, a lot of them aren't going to want to do that. They're going to want to create that actual relationship before trying to sell.
It's so key. And that's where the leverage has to be. And that's what it sounds like you guys have figured out. It's not about replacing all of the nature of the sales team right now. It's about just making it better, taking their leverage away from things that they shouldn't really be spending it on and positioning them to do their job to the best ability. And I think that'll be refreshing to hear for a lot of people watching this, that, oh my goodness, it's simple. Because there's so many bloody tools, as you say, that just overcomplicate the heck out of things. And it's a massive learning curve to learn something new. And then if it doesn't work out, you've got to, go on another learning spree of 10 other tools. And there's so much to it in today's day and age. So it's nice to hear that simplicity is being valued back in the mix, because I think that's a huge needle mover.
Yeah.
In Gavin, regards to, I know you got a lot going on in, V2 launching. You guys are obviously relatively new and on a super aggressive trajectory. That rocket ship behind you does not lie. Thinking over the next 12 months, what is the number one thing, aside from the launch of V2, that you're really excited about? What's the number one thing you're trying to accomplish past that?
Yeah, totally. Great question. So with our current platform, it's all built around kind of this sales agent, tool that helps you sell better. But that's only going to be one of our key kind of products. The other product, which is going to be focused on more sales platforms, is going to be a sales specialized full funnel LLM. So pretty much a sales brain that's trained on all the data that goes through our platform, that's trained on the research loop that we use to improve our agent. And the idea is sell that inference of that model to other companies, as well as use it in our agent. So we see the agent as like a body that helps you do the sales, but the sales brain can slot into that body. It can slot into, Salesforce for them to provide a better experience to their users. It can slide into Apollo for them to provide a better experience. So the idea is not just selling this agent, which the agent will be what any team will be able to use, but this LLM will be more of a sales platform play. So that's something that we're really excited about, is training that model, releasing it over the next year. That's kind of the next big thing after V2.
Yeah, massive. And it's a testament to that's where the technology is now. But I'm sure in 5-10 years, my goodness, what else is going to be capable? In that process, Gavin, where is your energy personally going? Like, are you in the weeds of this? How much do you leverage the team behind you? What is your stance in that process?
Yeah, totally. So, the team, we kind of all do, a bunch of stuff, both running a lot of sales as people come inbound. Now we're going to be doing our own outbound sales using our platform, but also, a lot of development work of the platform, coding out V2, coding out new features, leveraging, a lot of agents to kind of help that process. So, all of our team kind of balances a mix of sales and technical, some more to more of the different sides and some, fully technical, but the idea is just, continuing to build out the platform, continuing to, run the business, obviously, and scale the business.
Right. And it comes with being able to chop and change a few hats in that process, right?
Exactly.
It's a place we've all been, and it's one of those phases where it doesn't last forever, but it's so valuable to actually be able to see the business and experience it in these different ways as it does grow and scale. It's just going to give you that much more of a heightened awareness. Gavin, mate, I do wish we had more time. Where can people find you if they want to explore more about what you guys do and everything we've kind of covered today?
Totally. Yeah. So feel free to check us out at leadpoet.com. You can feel free to, hop on a plan, try out the product yourself. Also can book a call with me if you want to discuss further, just learn more about the state of kind of AI in sales, and also just see how, we could potentially help your sales team run more efficiently and get more results, leveraging this more intelligent system. But yeah, was definitely a pleasure hopping on the pod, and appreciate your time.
Amazing. Very well said, mate. Thank you for coming. Audience, thank you so much for watching. I had a blast. Until next time.